Well, when I was growing up, film photography is just all that we had. That's all that was available to us. Digital was not yet a thing yet, so I've been shooting film since, basically since I could pick up a camera. I decided to start shooting film because at the time it was cheaper to do so than to buy, like I could get a $35 camera on eBay and some old expired film lot, like 5 rolls for 10 bucks or something like that, as opposed to investing hundreds or thousands of dollars into a digital setup. People were just getting rid of their film stuff, and it's what I knew, so it seemed like the simplest thing for me to do. The reason why I love film, because I do shoot both digital and film, the reason that I am more gravitating toward film now is because I spend most of my time in digital workflow in Lightroom trying to achieve what comes naturally on film. There is a quality about it. It makes everyone's skin look amazing. There's a softness to it, a grain to it that you get in a lot of high-end retouching. So it saves you a lot of time in that regard. There are color palettes that you get with certain films, and there's a texture to it, and it's such a vast image quality that you get with different grains and different types of film. I feel like film helps me achieve my vision because there's a simplicity in it, and there is I wouldn't want to say the word authenticity in it because I feel like that word's overused, but it almost feels like there's a depth to it, a realness. It's not overly perfect. I don't like overly perfect images, and with digital, you can make everything completely perfect. You can just retouch it till it is pristine, and I just like things to be what they are. And I just like to embrace the imperfections, and imperfections are important to me in my work. I guess what I love to photograph most with film is portraits. I feel like it saves me a lot of time in post because I don't retouch my film. So I find that the quality that you get from film and the grain just helps so much in post-production when it comes to portraits. I do like shooting other things, like I don't mind doing street, and I don't mind doing like events and things like that, but portraits and spending time with people and the one-on-one and creating like a fine art portrait is something that is really fun, and it feels like my happy place. I feel like digital and film both have their place. I'm a hybrid shooter in that regard. Like, I use digital for events or for concerts or for weddings, somewhere where I'm going to be shooting a lot of images. But whenever I have the opportunity to slow down, I certainly prefer film in that regard. Like, I feel like both have their place, but I really like the less back-end work that I get with film. You know, there are a lot of companies that do really cool things with their presets to make it so that you can shoot both film and digital, and that your styles are kind of one and the same. I will say I've shot both film and digital, and I'll put my images side by side and they will still be different, no matter what high-end presets I'm using, no matter what kind of tweaks I'm making to try to achieve that. There's still a little bit of difference there. You can kind of, most people who have been shooting both can definitely tell. I do have a different mindset when I'm shooting film versus digital. I definitely, with film, I slow down, I take my time a little bit more. I care about those shots. I try not to be so redundant in my shots. Like 36 shots may not seem like that much shots to someone who shoots only digital, but for me, that's a lot of images, and I try my best to get my frame worth. I prefer to have I prefer to have as many of those images come out perfect as possible. I wouldn't say perfect, but out of 36, I would like to get at least 24 that I'm very happy with. So I definitely do love photojournalism, and it's something I don't get to do very often because I haven't been formally educated. But I'm working on getting my education, and I would say if I had all the money to do a project, it would be to work with small town drag queens and documenting their day-to-day lives and documenting those scenes, because in big cities, life is a lot different than it is for people in small towns, and not just drag queens, drag kings as well, and our non-binary performers. But I would love to just go and document and spend time in these small communities and spend time learning about the people there and their lives, because I feel like there are a lot of situations where small town stories aren't told on a big platform or on a big scale. And that type of inclusiveness helps the world feel less big and like you're not alone. So I'd really like to spend time telling those stories. I don't particularly have a favorite film yet, and that's only because I haven't shot all the films, so I can't honestly compare. I do favor Lomo 100 right now a lot. I used to really like Ektar, but I'm choosing Lomo over my Ektar right now. I am using Portra 400 a lot, no matter how boring people think it is. It's consistent, and I'm cool with that, and I like the pastel tones. And then I'm really digging Fomopan right now too. I like the contrast and the grain. I feel it's very pretty, and there's like a cinematic quality to it. So I am shooting my Nikon F100 a lot more than I used to. I really like using my Diana. I know a lot of people love to hate on the Diana. I think it's a lot of fun to work with, and it definitely has more imperfections, but if you learn how to use your tools, you'll know what they're good for. Like, all things are good for something different, and the best camera really is the one that you have. I just feel like film is such a good learning tool, and that it will make you a better photographer in the long run if you just slow down, take your time, and get to know this medium and all the things that it can do and all the depth it can create in your work. I know a lot of people like to say that the waiting is the hardest part, but I enjoy the anticipation. I think the hardest part is probably just metering. Spending your time metering, whether you're going to trust your camera's internal meter, whether you're going to external meter, figuring out if you're going to meter for your highlights, your shadows, your midtones. I feel like because you don't have that back end stuff like you do with digital, I feel like just spending your time metering is probably the hardest part for me. I don't think film's ever going to go out. I don't think it's ever going to die. God bless them, they tried it. It didn't last. It's made a huge resurgence. I'm not sure what the future will be. We're seeing a lot of new emulsions, and they're trying to create new films and bring dead film stocks back from the dead. So I'm hoping that we see a growth in creative film stocks, and I feel like there will be growth in the tools that we can use. New cameras, new film cameras, new easier, maybe eco-friendly processing, who knows. My name is Starla Little. I'm a fine art and portrait photographer, and I shoot film.